The next maybe 20, 25 minutes, so just going to give one last discussion to hopefully encourage us and to move us out into this job of parenting that we have. The power of expectation. This is about patients that had knee problems, and they were separated into three groups. One group was going to get their knee washed out, the other group was going to get their knee scraped, and the other group wasn't going to have anything. But they took them all to the operating room and they made the incisions in everybody. And what they found was, I think it was 2 years later, that all three groups had the same pain, swelling, disability from the operations, even though one group had nothing done except to just make 3 incisions and stop. So just by the process of setting up expectations, really impacts how we perceive things and how we respond. Another study is in tennis. They took people and they were somebody would hit them the ball and they'd hit it back over the net. And they just we rotate around in the net. And they had plants there, the people that would specifically were told to beforehand it was arranged that they would either hit it over the net or they would hit it into the net. And what they found is that whenever somebody hit it over net, the person preceding them hit it over the net, then the patient or the subject would then also a higher percentage of the time would hit over the net. When the person in front of them hit it into the net, more often they hit it into the net themselves. So again, what you see in setting up expectations has a marked impact on what we actually do. What we've been trying to discuss here is what kind of expectations do we impart to our kids? What do we expect out of them? What kind of, what are we doing as the tennis player in front of them? What are we doing? Are we hitting it over the net or are we hitting it into the net? Because that's going to set up their expectation level as to how they're going to respond. So what are we striving for? What do we sort of, hold out to them or role model to them or create as expectations in them as to, what's really important? What is the ultimate reward, ultimate trophy? Again, sports for me, it's, ultimate reward, ultimate trophy. What are we training our kids to expect? Here's a list of things that we look at. On the left is things that, some of them are good, some of them are bad. We strive for. On the right, you have all these, most of them are really nice things that we strive for. Right? Expanding the kingdom, community leadership, being a loyal family member, friendly neighbor, moral life, those kind of good things. But when we're striving for those things, what's wrong is that all those things are usually obedience-driven and depend on a performance. And it's amazing as parents how that message of obedience and performance is really, really instilled in our kids. Obedience, performance being the prime thing that we're shooting for as far as how they respond, what their goal is, what our goal is, and then what we're imputing to them as far as the expectancy and the role modeling of the goal that they're shooting for. Focus on the to-dos. And obedience, I'm not here to say that obedience is bad. I don't want to ever you guys go up and tell your neighbor, wow, I listened to this doctor and said obedience is a bad thing. We should be shooting for that, shouldn't be role modeling. I mean, certainly obedience is an important thing and a healthy thing. But too often times we give the impression that that is the ultimate goal. I want your obedience. And if you think about it, as a kid, or with your, thinking about your relationship with your kid, what would you rather have? Would you rather have a kid who obeys all the rules, does all the chores, gets their homework done, gets great grades in school, obedient in class, but doesn't really want to hang out with you, doesn't really care to be in a relationship with you? You say, hey, I'm going to Kmart. You want to come with me? And no, I really don't want to, Dad. Goes up in their room, they hang out. Contrast that to the kid who, they don't do all their chores exactly right all the time. They drag their feet about certain things. They do their homework most of the time, but sometimes they forget things. They, sometimes they get good grades, sometimes they don't. But they care about you, they love you, they're interested in what you dream about, what makes you sad. They see you a little bit glum one day, what's the matter? What's going on? You say, hey, you're going to Kmart, you want to come with me? Yeah, I just got this new CD. Here, you want to hear some of these songs? I'm interested to hear what you think about them, what your impression is. Do you think they're evil? Do you think they're bad? Sometimes we want to tease you, whatever. Now, which relationship would you rather have? First one or the second one? Right? The second one. But so many times we push obedience, we push performance, that sometimes it out-trumps in our overt communication and certainly our subliminal communication, the goal of relationship. And certainly we want to show them ultimately a relationship with God, but then also a relationship with each other. So obedience is not the ultimate goal. It focuses on rules of behavior, but not necessarily motivation. Unrealistic expectations sets the stage for failure, because you can't obey 100% of the time. You can't get it all right. Expecting obedience without grace or loving relationships sets kids to view God as a judgmental dictator. So, a view of God, whenever I work with kids and young adults, I take a spiritual history of everybody that comes in, as I take a history of medications and medical and family history and those kinds of things. I ask them spiritual history, and a lot of times there's some discord with God. I ask them, well, who do you think God is? Describe me who the God you've been taught is. It's amazing how they don't sometimes say judgmental dictator, but that's pretty much the focus and the view of who they think God is. Grace, love, forgiveness, those kind of things don't really enter into their description of God. Leads to frustration despite increased effort. The more they try, there's still more frustration because they're not measuring up 100%. When obedience is the goal, we tend to focus on and engage only behavior. Look at the mind and the spirit, and really what's in their heart in the process. Now, I think as we, put performance and behavior and obedience as the focus, we also look at it for ourselves as obedience and focus as obedience is the focus for our own life. And it gets us off track with really pursuing God as our ultimate goal and our ultimate focus, pursuing our relationship with Him. I think God then sort of disrupts those things that we're putting in front of Him. So whether that's being a godly parent or being a godly spouse, I think God will disrupt those things to show us, hey, these aren't the things that you should be pursuing. You really need to be pursuing me. If these things are at the center of your heart, I need to knock them out of the center of your heart. And I think sometimes that's where some of our disruption and some of that parent-child conflict comes from, is God sort of trying to show us that this really shouldn't be at the center of your heart. Yes, it's an important thing. It's an important thing that you should pursue, but only in sequence after your pursuit of me and our relationship. And what does God desire? Performance? No. All kinds of different stories in the Bible. David and the prodigal. And, the law, being there to show our need for grace, that we aren't able to fulfill the whole law. And then He comes to the greatest commandments. And the greatest commandment is certainly to love God with all of who we are. And the second commandment, after we love Him, is to pursue the relationships with others and ourselves. And certainly that's what we want to try to convey to our kids. Take a look at what you're doing when you go home. And just have that, I used to love Fred Flintstone when I was a little kid. And Fred Flintstone had this little angel Fred, little devil Fred on his shoulder that would, talk to him. And, he wants to buy the bowling ball and not take Wilma out on an anniversary date. And, little angel Fred says, no, she deserves a ring and some flowers. And the devil Fred, no, she'll never realize what she missed. Just get her little thing and buy the bowling ball. But that's the way we need to go through life with our little angel and devil Fred, on our shoulder, and really being able to scrutinize in real time, what are we doing? Take a look, as you're interacting with your kid, what are you really putting forth as a priority? Is the priority, their performance and obedience? Or is it really your relationship with them? You're trying to show them respect, dignity, honor, empathy, interest, in how you interact with them, how you pay attention to them, how you just continue to be in their lives in significant ways. In salvation, not by efforts. As I said, God sometimes has to disrupt some of our things that we're pursuing just to show us what really is important, and to pursue Him. And show that, until we pursue Him, those other things won't fall into place. We won't be as comfortable in them. So if we have the medal ceremony at the Olympics, God's well done at the end of our lifetimes. And this isn't like theologically accurate, so it's my best attempt. It's the gold medal, first place, is awarded to those who lived life out of a loving relationship with God that then resulted in